Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Thank you so much for coming today. We're just going to wait a few minutes for the other attendees to come on in and get situated. I'll just give you a few minutes to grab a coffee, water, tea, Red Bull, whatever you need this morning. And then we'll come on back and I'll turn it over to Joe. But give you a few minutes to get situated and I'll call you back in a bit. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you are set up with some coffee or a beverage of your choice. We are so excited that you are here today. Thank you for logging on. We have a great presentation for you from Joe Mastromarino. He is a sales engineer here at Attack IQ, and he's going to be leading you through an awesome topic about using global reporting to validate the effectiveness of your security program. So I'll turn it over to you, Joe.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Madison. Am I coming through loud and clear?
Sounding great.
Excellent. Thank you. So, yes, thank you for that. I'm really looking forward to discussing this with all of you today. If you've been with us for one of our weekly demos before, so we're going to go through some other and different stuff today that the platform can do. I'm very excited about this today. So let me give you a brief on myself here. So I am, as Madison said, Joe Mastromarino. I'm a New York City-based solutions or sales engineer. I've been with Attack IQ since August of 21, 17+ year career in technology, mostly in security, a lot of years in the financial services space. So I've certainly spent a lot of time building reports over my career. Also a long history in incident response forensics and a strong SIM background as well. So lots of different ways that I've played around with data and making sure that people understand the real outcomes and what has to happen next. Here's an agenda of what we are going to discuss today. I'm going to give you a quick refresher demo on one specific part of the platform that we're going to be using as the jumping point for the reporting that we're going to be discussing today. Then I'm going to discuss the importance of storytelling as a big part of what we do as security practitioners and especially users of this platform, and how we communicate this data to other people and how vitally important that is. So being able to take that information and weave it into a story that's going to drive real change is really why we're all here. And the vehicle that we use for that is a Jupyter Notebook. So I'm going to discuss what a Jupyter Notebook is at a glance, and then tell you where you'd be able to get those within the Attack IQ platform, and then how you take some of those notebooks to tell stories to different audiences. And then I'm going to show you what those look like and what the output looks like and how you can interpret that data based on everything that I've just told you. So first, let's start with that very quick refresher demo. I want to remind you of what this part of the platform looks like that we're drawing data from and what we're doing differently today. So for that, I'm going to bring myself right over here to the Attack IQ platform. I'm using one of my demonstration environments right here, and what you see in front of you is an assessment. As a reminder, an assessment in Attack IQ is a grouping of attack scenarios, all put together for a common purpose. And the modality of execution that you're looking at here, this is what we call an attack graph, where we take a series of those attack scenarios and we put them into a sequence with logical branching path systems that go based on decisions. Well, what happened here? Based on the outcome of this scenario, whether or not the agent reported that your security stack had stopped it, had prevented it, makes the decision on whether or not you move on and whether or not you continue going through the rest of the attack scenarios as defined by this particular actor's campaign that we see here. The eventual outcome is that we're able to say whether or not we are able to prevent and or detect, using the integrations that we have, this attacker's campaign. That's the goal. That's what we want to see. Now, of course, we'd be able to see that right here inside of the platform. I could go into my results and I would be able to see that over time. I take a look at the historical results and I'm able to see what we were able to prevent or detect. These are my results right down here. So for this asset, we were able to stop it and I saw it using, in this case, CrowdStrike Falcon. And this host, I was able to stop it, but I wasn't able to see it. So a little bit different instrumentation that's probably going to be needed there and changes that need to happen. That's one way I can interpret the results. And this is at a very micro level because I'm looking at one specific assessment. There are reports that we have already built into the platform. And you may have already seen this in a prior demonstration. This is one example of one of those reports. I have this detailed report based on this run of this assessment. And this is fantastic information. This is certainly not going anywhere. We have all of this. We continue to provide all this. It's very valuable information. And it shows you step by step what was prevented, what was detected. And it shows you this exactly for this run. This is all really valuable information. But what if I told you that we had a way to take a step further back and look at these results in a sequence over time, that we have run all of these, and then we can have a better graphical view of being able to see all of our attacker campaigns over time and how we're performing at a prevention and detection level. And how can we communicate that to different audiences? That's the reason why we're here today, is to discuss that additional method of reporting that we have here at Attack IQ. So that's your quick refresher right there, that we have these different attack graphs. This is one way of executing an assessment, and this is one way of being able to review the results. So let's go back to the presentation materials now, because next we need to talk about storytelling. Storytelling is an art as old as being able to communicate itself. It's how we're able to pass on information, whether it's really important information about how to do things, passing on family recipes, being able to pass on any kind of information that you want to make sure is understood clearly by the audience that you want listening to it. And now that we have this data that we can drive into our story, it becomes even more powerful, because we want to be able to say to different audiences, from my board all the way to my security practitioners that are working in the SOC, these are the things that we need to do. These are the decisions that we need to make in order to continue improving our security posture over time. The way we're going to do that here today is with the use of a Jupyter Notebook. This can be a really valuable tool for storytelling, and I'm going to use a couple of examples in order to help tell this story through the use of, again, we're going to use these attack graphs because I want to use this same thread throughout. but this can also be used for different types of assessments here in Attack IQ. But I wanted to really flesh this one out for you. Let's discuss what a Jupyter Notebook is for a moment. If you're not familiar with it, a Jupyter Notebook is a quick and easy way to be able to write, execute, and share code. And you could do this in many different ways. Jupyter Notebooks can be run locally on a machine. They can be shared and run on shared resources. Here at Attack IQ, we use Google Colab in order to quickly and easily share all this code out. And what it can do for us in this case is you can have these text blocks up here in the upper right-hand corner. They're going to explain using Markdown language exactly what's happening. Think of it almost like Comments 2.0, for instance, because then you can put even more context behind everything that's happening on the screen in front of you. So it makes it even more interactive and easy to read. The code blocks are right there in front of you, all of that properly syntax highlighted. We're going to be using Python for these Jupyter Notebooks. And what this allows you to do, and we did this a lot before, and then we just started putting it into Jupyter Notebooks because it'll allow you to leverage the power of APIs. And in the case of Attack IQ, we have that open API for you to use for purposes just like this, that you can pull down the assessment information, you can pull down all of the results so that you can create visualizations just like we have here. You could put this into, and the way we're going to be using it here is with an Excel spreadsheet. I know Excel spreadsheets, but I'll tell you, it's going to tell a very powerful story very quickly to anybody that's looking at it. But you could take this same code if you wish to have it, and you could take that, you could run it against the API, and then you could put that into any other BI tool of your choice. But we wanted to show you how powerful this could be and how quickly you could use it with the use of an Excel spreadsheet. Now, how do we start to tell a story with this information? Let's start at the board level and use those same attack graphs and how we can highlight a technology investment gap using the attack graphs that we have here at Attack IQ. In the upper right-hand corner, you will see another representative of that attack graph that we were just looking at. And we could see that in one particular node, we had in this red box, it represents some type of control failure. And in node 3 would also represent a control failure. That's exactly what this is telling us, that we're showing us that we had an endpoint security control failure here and a network security control failure over here. The visualization that then gets created would show us that we can tell, really what we're looking at here is being able to tell board members, yes, we're able to detect or prevent actions coming from this attacker group, APT10, and this attacker group, APT29, but FIN6, we had an issue with. We couldn't detect them, we couldn't prevent them, and we have a gap here that we've highlighted that we need to start driving more resources toward. You'll be able to have this information in your back pocket, but being able to abstract away a lot of that detail in order to be able to quickly explain to someone that needs to make that decision, hey, here's the quick information that you need. We have all the evidence behind us, but this is what has to happen. That's exactly the way that a Jupyter Notebook can take, in this case, a number of different assessments, because we had one for APT10, one for 29, and one for 6, put them all onto one quick and easy to read spreadsheet with a universally readable color scheme that says, yes, we're good here, and no, we need more work here. And that's a very powerful thing to be able to do right inside of one platform. And that's exactly what you're saying right here to your senior technical management team. How can I demonstrate our current security posture against relevant threat actor campaigns and be able to highlight and have the information in our back pocket to say, this is where we have our issues and this is where we're doing well, and be able to say that with real confidence and with the information behind you. You can discuss any of those cells that are red, because I know that's always going to prompt a question. Why is this red? You have the information all behind you, but you can quickly and easily show that to the people that need to understand the information. Let's go one level deeper. and get some more information. Because here, now we're looking at, again, two different campaigns. We're looking at APT29 and we're looking at Fin6. And what we can highlight here, because now what these lines represent is you have the APT29 box up here. You now have a number of different boxes next to it. Those all represent the different hosts in our environment that we ran this campaign against. All of these could be sitting in different areas of the organization with different permutations, combinations of your security stack. So this host was fine. This one was fine. This host was not. And these two hosts over here on the Fin6 campaign, they also had an issue. So this is going to highlight where and in what controls and using what MITRE tactics, techniques, procedures are we running into issues in our security stack. That quickly highlights that all for you. And we can even put that into a graphical representation using the same Jupyter notebooks so that we can show you in a graphical representation, these are the MITRE attack tactics where we are doing well, where we're preventing them well, we're detecting them well, and these are the ones where we need a little bit more work, all trended over time. How does this then become important when you're communicating this? Well, when I'm talking to my technical operations team, I want to be able to provide them with all the information related to my existing detection rules or my enabled capabilities. What am I expecting to be able to find and stop these things? And what of these are working and which ones are not? You want to be able to give them the information so that we could take the proper actions for remediation and mitigation. If there are rules and policy changes that we could make internally, here it is, here's the information, and here's all the information, by the way, that Attack IQ provides, because we give you mitigation recommendations, we give you indicators of compromise. If these are the things that can be done natively here, let's do that. And if these are things that our existing security stack can't do for whatever reason, let's go have a conversation with the providers of those controls and make sure that we are all speaking the same language and that we're all setting the right expectations for one another so that we can stop these things before someone else takes advantage of it. Once we know that those things have been done, we've made those native changes, we've made those changes with our security vendors, we can quickly and easily retest using exactly the same information and do it quickly and easily and say, yes, we got this, we did a good job, let's move on and find the next thing that we need to address. When we're talking to our technical management team, we can also now take that same information, that's that graphic I was showing you before, we have all of that mapped against the MITRE attack framework. So it makes it very easy for us to have those conversations because we're always talking about the same type of tactics, the same type of procedures. So the fact that we can discuss that and be able to demonstrate graphically where in the attack lifecycle any of our gaps exist, that's going to make it so easy to make it real for anyone that we're discussing that with in order to be able to prioritize any resources. Where are we going to put our people? Where are we going to put the budget that we have for the coming year in order to improve security operations and response and know that those resources are going to the right places? Now let's take that information that we just took and let's look at it from a historical perspective. And that's something else that these same Jupyter notebooks allow you the ability to do. You run these campaigns month over month. You want to be able to demonstrate your performance changes over time and whether or not any of those tactics, techniques, procedures, those also change over time. You want to be able to visualize that up here at the top for anyone at the board level. You want to be able to visualize that for any of your other practitioners that you want to be able to explain this to, any of the other super technical people that want to be able to highlight the gaps or simply where things have changed. Because this market constantly changes, the attack methods constantly change, and we want to make sure that we're keeping up with that as quickly as we possibly can. And that's what these notebooks allow you the ability to do. So when we're talking to our technical operations team, once again, we're able to tell that story and say that, hey, look, yeah, we highlighted this information in March and you made these changes. And when we retested it back in April, those gaps were closed. Fantastic job, we did it. But there's always going to be something that happens afterwards. There's always going to be a change of tactic that happens somewhere. So let's keep that momentum going because we're moving in the right direction and we need to keep up with what the attackers are doing next. It creates a great sense of momentum and it keeps that urgency going, knowing that we're able to affect these changes and that, look, this works. This process, this methodology works, so let's keep doing that. And then when we're talking to a technical management team, we're able to provide that level of detail to show that the program is working. The people, the process, the technology, and adding an attack IQ here and being able to demonstrate that information over time, you can show at an abstract level all the way down to a detailed level. This is how we're continuing to improve our performance over time. The SOC continues to respond. Our security controls continue to evolve with the attacker TTPs because we're all mapping it against the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So that's how we can continue to transform that conversation from what happens now through all the campaigns that we're running into the security stack that we have, how we're showing that performance over time. And all of this is available right now inside of the Attack IQ platform. So that's the transformative storytelling power here, is that unlike a static PowerPoint, that those can go out of date quickly. Those Jupyter notebooks, you could just keep using them and tell that data in real time and be able to tell it using a series of time. You can have those Jupyter notebooks that provides insight that you can use to tell those stories, that you can use to anticipate the questions that you have from your top level as deeply technical as you want to go. That's the importance of it. Now let's go through a demonstration. I'll show you where you would be able to find that within the platform, and then some of the sample output that you would get from it and how you can interpret it. I'm going to move back over here, and the way that we expose this to our users is right here within our support portal. I'm just going to move this up to the back up to the top of the screen right here to show you where you'd find that. In the Attack IQ support portal, we have a page just for our Attack IQ Jupyter notebooks. As you saw me just scroll up, we have a whole lot of those, and these are based on a really important concept, and you can see this word pop up a few times here, this concept of a blueprint. And I have one of these blueprints up here, and it's around the same topic that we've been looking at the entire time, how to assess your security posture against adversary behavior. We give you all of the steps right here. We've written all of this out for you. We provide all of this content to you. Just like I've been explaining through this whole presentation, how to take the information from those Jupyter notebooks and interpret it for the appropriate audiences that you're talking to on any given day. The different levels of detail that are there, what those different cells mean, and what you want those reactions to be. What do you want these people to do as a result of you explaining this information to them? So all of this is laid out for you in a series of these blueprints that you will be able to use right away. Those Jupyter notebooks, all they really require is, and I'll show you a few of these right here. They would also be linked right here from the support portal, so you could go directly from the support portal right over to our Jupyter notebooks page. And just like when you were looking at any of the scenarios, the attack scenarios within our assessments, how we expose all the code, we expose all the code here too. We're not hiding anything from you. So all of the code that you wanted to be able to see for the interaction with the Attack IQ API, all of this is available right here. So some of this markdown is right here. It's telling you exactly what you need to do, what inputs are required, and all you would need in order to be able to run this, and just to show you all the rest of this code that's right here, you need to know your platform URL. So what platform are we dealing with? I'll just grab this one right here, just to show you how easy it would be to start to run one of these. I would put in my platform URL. And all this is telling you is that, oh, look, this notebook was not authored by Google. It was authored by Stefan Schmidt, who, by the way, is our founder and CTO. So yes, I would expect that to come from him. He's very much involved with the company and our technology, by the way. The authorization token. This I'm not going to show on the screen right here. This is the authorization token that you would use in order to access the API. I could do that as well and then just go back and reset my token because we provide you that ability as well. But I do already have the spreadsheets ready to go. After you have that put in, all you would need to do once you've connected over to a runtime, and if you've never seen these before, you could connect to a hosted runtime, you could do a local runtime, wherever you want to run this from. And then up here at runtime, you would just click the run all and then start up that Jupyter Notebook. Depending on how much information you have in this Jupyter Notebook, how long you've been running these, how many assessments you have, usually just takes a couple of minutes to run all the way through. It's going to step all the way through this code, so it would show you exactly what's going to happen. After all of the includes, you have your initialization of the REST API that we have here at Attack IQ. So how are we going to make the call in order to grab the information? For the data gathering side, how are we going to make the request and then grab all that information from there? And then we do the capture and the transformation of the data. Yeah, there we go, right over here. Outputting all that information to an Excel spreadsheet. We do all of that right in here for you. So we do all of the column organization, the colorization, all of that is right here inside of the right inside of the Jupyter Notebook. So we make it nice and easy for you to understand. If you wanted to make any kind of edits to those, you could download those and then make the edits to your heart's content and be able to display that any way you wish. So after that runs, what happens is it quickly and easily downloads the file for you. So you could just open that right in Excel. What I've done to make this easy for the demonstration is I downloaded all 4 of the files that came from the different tiers of the books that I have here. So tier 1 would be your board level, to tier 3 being like the people that would be looking at this from the SOC perspective. So from very abstracted all the way down to deeply technical information is what we mean by those different tiers. And I put all 4 of those spreadsheets into one workbook so we could quickly see the information that's here. So I look at this one right here, this tier 1, this executive one, and what I'm looking at is information from September of 21 through March of 22. And what this is telling me is that I wasn't testing for APT 29 in September, October. I was only doing it up until, I wasn't doing it until March. And then either we prevented it or we saw it. That's all it's saying, is that we have instrumentation that is going to be addressing this threat actor. That's all this one is saying. When I take a look at it mapped with controls, because we can also do that, what it's doing is it's saying to us here, based on the APT 29 again, that yes, I was able to stop this one and I was able to see it with a number of different controls. And again, in October, I stopped it, but Cisco Firepower, for some reason, didn't see it. And that's something I would need to go and investigate. But the high level is that, yeah, we were able to stop this attack in a couple of different ways and we're able to see it. When I go further down, that's when I get into the tier 2, and that's when I get into the different MITRE TTPs that you see right here. So the MITRE tactics, and I now dive into the techniques after the tactics. I can see, based on this, how well are we doing in execution, persistence, privilege escalation. There are things that I can see right here. I had some red marks over here around things like persistence, privilege escalation in September, October. I now move into March, And I'm starting to do better with some of these, but there are still some areas where we need some attention. So it does certainly drive those decisions to be able to say, yeah, we're doing better in some areas. And then there are definitely some areas where, look, we're testing more, and we can start to see there are some of these other execution methods that are still not able to be prevented. So we need to work on these a little bit more. And that's what it's doing, is it's giving you that that really valuable information that you can go back in and say, we're doing better in these places, and then in some of these places, we need a little bit more work. When I look at some of these other tactics like collection, command and control, exfiltration, that's where you can go in with that same story that we were talking about before, whereas before, there were some of these that were not doing so well, and we see a lot of red here, but then we get some green over here. Yeah, we made those instrumentation changes, and we're able to stop that going forward, which is fantastic. So that's what keeps that momentum going, is being able to say, yeah, these things changed, and we made the positive changes in the right direction. Whereas this one here, it was working in September, then we changed tactic, and all of a sudden this one is not working anymore. Maybe something changed internally, or maybe something with the product changed, then we weren't able to stop it for a couple of campaigns. But then when we came back in March, yeah, we were able to stop it again. So that's the whole idea, is that you're able to communicate all of these changes over time. And you could do this with a series of assessments being run using the Jupyter Notebook capability. You're also able to see this graphically over time. How well are we doing? So what are we able to cover for? What are all of these things that we are stopping? And that's just another way of being able to visualize those tactics. Yeah, there we go. Making this less of an eye chart for you. These tactics over time. How are we able to stop these things? So that's the idea, is we want to be able to give you as many different ways that you can visualize this information. Now, if we want to go even further in, that's where tier 3 comes into play. And this is going to be just a little bit of an eye chart. I'll try to make this a little bit less. But the idea here is that now we have these different attack graphs, these different campaigns by the different hosts that are here. And then we take a look at each step in that attack graph. What was the scenario name? So what exactly were we trying to do? What were the technique IDs that we had for each of these that were mapped to it? When did we run it? Did we stop it? Did we see it? And what controls did we see it with over that period of time? So I take a look at some of these visualizations right here that I'm looking at in the T29 attack graph, starting around here, around row 29, that some of these look fairly similar. And this one actually got just a little bit worse with the detection. So maybe something changed. We need to do something a little bit different. But we're seeing similar results here in January as well. So the story that I'm telling is that, look, we still have this issue with APT29. We're still not seeing the information coming out of our network security control right here. We have a control deficiency right here that we need to take a closer look at. We're able to stop some of the things in this campaign for sure, but we got a couple of blind spots that we really need to keep looking at. So whereas we can say that we're able to stop the attacks, there are other audiences that need to hear that there's still some more work to be done to work out the finer details of making sure that we're able to continue to stop these things over time as the techniques change, as the attacker behaviors change over time. So that's how we can take that information and be able to tell stories with that information directly at our Jupyter Notebooks. We're now using a much larger set of information across our entire tenancy and across all of the assets that we have, regardless of where they sit, in order to be able to tell the stories using the attack graphs. Can we do this for other types of scenarios and assessments? Absolutely. We already have Jupyter Notebooks built out for different types of security control sets. So when I look over here in the Jupyter Notebooks, we already have ones for looking at network security controls, endpoint security controls, all of those atomic assessments, not the attack graphs like we were just discussing, but I wanted to express that one because it's very easy for all of us to wrap our minds around. But the atomic assessments and being able to do that, absolutely possible, and we already have that built within Jupyter Notebooks today. So that covers the bulk of the information that I wanted to be able to discuss today. We went over the attack graphs and how we can take a look at those reports, why Jupyter Notebooks are important for being able to tell stories, and how those Jupyter Notebooks are able to tell stories that drive change within your organization. All of this possible within Attack IQ today, all of this supported within the portal today, and all of this giving you even more power with that information that you're building with your continuous security validation with Attack IQ. At this point, I'll end the presentation and I'll open it up to any questions from the audience today. Thank you all very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Joe. That was awesome. Thank you to everybody who came out. I am not seeing any questions currently, but please feel free to reach out if things pop up. And we are so glad that you came out today to listen, and we hope to have you back real soon. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you.